Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about the Form 80. A lot of people have questions about this document, and as it is an important document towards your visa application, we're going to give you a brief explanation about it. It's always good to read this part of the document as it explains how important it is to provide the correct information. A good part to read is this: the integrity of application. The Department of Immigration and Border Protection, the department is committed to maintaining the integrity of the visa and citizenship programs. Please be aware that if you provide us with fraudulent documents or claims, this may result in processing delays and possibly your application being refused. So keep in mind that all the information that you're going to provide to this form has to be accurate, has to be up to date, and has to be true. Okay? So please don't lie filling this document, as this is not a good indication towards the immigration. So on part A, for applicant details, on question 1, it's to complete with your information. So family name, it stands for your surname. If you look into your passport, you're going to see surname. So just put as your passport. Given names, it's your first name. So look into your passport and just copy the same. So your sex is if you're a male or a female. Date of birth, suburb of birth. Most of the birth certificates, they contain the suburb of birth. Please refer to your birth certificate to answer this part. Town or city of birth as well, check on your birth certificate, as well for the state and country. Question number 2, if you're not from a Chinese background, if you don't have a Chinese characters in your name, just simply put no. Otherwise, yes, and then fill up with the Chinese commercial code number in full. Same for Arabic descent, Russian descent. So just do the same. If you're not Arabic or Russian, just type no, just select no. If you are, just yes, and then provide information. Question 5. A lot of people have questions about this. Oh, I've been married and I changed my name, or I divorced and I changed my name back to the name that I had when I was single. So if you have ever been known by any other names, please provide the details. If you've never changed your names in any circumstance, please just select no. Okay? Otherwise, select yes and give details in English, remembering that this form has to be completed in English. Alright? No other language is accepted. Question number 6. Have you ever had a different date of birth to the one shown at question 1, the one that you referred to your birth certificate? Just in case if you had a different date of birth, if yes, select yes and then provide information. If it's the same as question 1, simply select no. Do you currently have citizenship from any country? So if you don't even have citizenship from your own country, from the country where you were born, just select as no, I'm stateless, and provide information why are you stateless. Otherwise, just put yes and how you gain it. So in this case, if you were born in this country, just type birth and your date of birth. Otherwise, if you gain that through application, or you are like resident and then you apply for citizenship and gain that through any other way, just put over here and put the date that you gained that citizenship. Question number 8. If you hold or have you held citizenships from any other country, including dual citizenships and all previous citizenships. Again, if you do have or have ever held one, please hit yes and then put the information from what day to what day. If that citizenship is still current, simply put the date that you want here, for example, and then you're going to put 20, just giving an example, and then on this one, if it's still valid, you're just gonna write current. Okay, you see that works here. You don't need to put a date because it's still current. If you don't have, just simply hit no and move forward. Okay, just delete this one here as well. Question 9. Do you currently have permanent residency rights in any country other than those declared on in question 7 or 8? The two previous questions. If no, simply select no and move forward. If yes, just list the other countries. Part B. Passport and travel documents details. Do you have a current passport or travel document? You probably have a current passport unless it is expired and you are waiting to receive the new one. If you have a current one, simply select yes and provide the information about your passport or travel document number. Okay, so refer to your passport to answer this question, and please do not leave any blank information. You have to fill up the whole question. Okay, otherwise just type no if you do not have a current passport and just move forward to question 12. Question, if you don't have, you move to question 12. If you have, of course, we're going to question 11. Do you have any other document or any other current passport or travel document? So let's say that you do have two different passports that are current. Okay, so let's say you have one from your country and one from the other country that you have your citizenship. So please select yes and provide information about the other one. If you do not have one, simply select no and move to the next question. Have you ever had any previous passport or travel documents, including expired, lost, or stolen documents? So let's say that you do have a passport, that you've had a passport, but you don't have the information because you've lost it. Simply hit yes because you've had one. Answer the next question to saying what happened to these documents. So in that case, it was lost or stolen. If it was expired, if you do have a previous passport and it is expired, please move to next question and then question 14, and then provide all details about this document. Okay, don't simply select yes and just put the authority, just put the country here. Don't do, because that does not help the immigration checking your information. Okay, so please provide all information on that document. If you don't have that document, if you don't have this information because you've lost it, do not select expired, select lost or stolen. Okay, if you select expired, you have to provide all information about the document. Okay, on part C, identity documents, you probably have an ID card from your own country, or you probably have an ID card from Australia. If you do have any sort of identity documents, simply put the name of the document, so in this case ID card, put where it was issued and the number. Okay, if you don't have any sort of identity documents, you do have your birth certificate, for example, it has a number, so you put birth certificate, where it was issued, and the application and the identification number. I'm sorry. Moving forward to question 16 on part D, your address and contact details. Do you have any email addresses? Yes, I do. So let's put my email address here. If I have more than one, please, if you do have more than one, please provide more than one. If you have only one, just provide the one that you have. If you do not have one, simply select no and move to the next question. Okay, Remembering, do not include migration agent email addresses, okay? Do not. This is your personal email address, okay? And include all personal, student, and work email addresses if available. Question 17. Do you have current contact telephone numbers? If you do not have any sort of contact telephone numbers, simply select no and move to the next question. If you do have a contact telephone number, please select yes and provide the numbers that you can for work, home, or mobile cell phone. Okay? Question 18. Your address history for the last 10 years. Okay? If you write over here for the previous 5 years, they will not accept the document because it is incorrect. Okay? So you have to follow the requirements of the question. So please provide your address for the last 10 years. If you're applying for a refugee visa, please provide for the last 30 years. Well, but I cannot provide all my information here. I don't have enough space. If you do not have enough space, please provide the address history in chronological order with no gaps in the timeline. If there are gaps, you must provide an explanation at part T. On this part T, just in case if you don't have enough space here, you are entitled to use the part T to complete the question. Okay, so just I will show you later, but just put the question number and the answers. Okay, moving to part E for international travel movements. Have you traveled to any country other than Australia in the last 10 years? So let's say that you were in Australia and you went to Thailand for holidays. Yes, you do have to provide that information. So any sort of travel or movements, international travel, you have to provide here. If there was for work, for study, for holidays, no matter what it is, please provide over here. Okay? So if you have traveled in the past 10 years, which you probably had, select yes and then put the dates from and dates to. Oh, but I don't know what date did when did I go? I don't know. I have to check. Where do I check? Well, one document that you can check, it's your own passport. On your passport, you probably have the visa that you were granted to travel to that country. If you did not have a visa to enter into that country, you have a stamp where you went into the country when you first arrived in the country. You probably have some sort of details on your flight ticket or your hotel, so you have this information. If you moved internationally, you do have access to information to provide here. If you do not know this information, please find an information with your travel agent or with your passport, email, hotel. You have to provide this if you did some sort of international travel or movements. Okay? If you did not have one, simply select no and move to the next question. It is really important to provide the correct information. All right? That's why I'm putting that emphasis on this, because it is important to answer correctly this form. Part F, employment. Give details of all employment and unemployment since birth. Okay? And here there is an explanation about employment or unemployment. Okay? Please provide fill up all gaps. So let's say that you were working up to 2010 and then you did not work for a year because you were traveling or you were studying or you were doing whatever you were doing. Please provide information. So from 1st of January 2010 to the 31st of December 2010, unemployed, and then provide information saying what happened. So, I was studying, I was being financially supported by my parents, or I was financially supported by my savings, for example. Okay, please provide. Oh, but do I have to provide the details about my current employment? Yes, you do. You are working. So if you are working, please provide details of your current employment. But what about if I work in 2 places or 3 places? Doesn't matter. Please provide information here about your employment. If it's more than one, if you have more than one current employment, please provide information here. If there is not enough space here, again, use the part T at the end of the document to provide the remaining information. Okay? This one you have to provide information since birth. So let's say that you were born on the 1st of March 1980 and you started working on the 1st of March of 1990. So you're going to write 1st of March 1980 to the 1st of March 1990. Unemployed, being supported, financially supported by my parents because you were studying, so you did not work at the time. Okay, every single job, any single work that you've done, you probably had some sort of employment agreement, or you worked through your ABN or your tax file number, or you had some sort of registration in your own country. Okay, everything that you can provide proof of it, please write it down here. So if you've worked for XYZ company from that day to that day, inform here. Do not miss a gap. Okay? Moving forward to the next question. 21 for education. Again, this one you have to provide all information since birth. Okay? Since birth. Do not provide information from your high school onwards or from your uni or only your current situation. Don't. Please provide information since birth. Okay? So from kindergarten, primary school, high school, diploma, certificate, bachelor, whatever you've studied, please provide information. Oh, but I have done a course. There was just a 2 weeks course. Yes, you've studied. So please put 2 weeks course here. Put the dates to start, date to end. Okay? And put the name of the institution and the full name of the course or description of research if you are doing some sort of research. Okay? If you've completed, withdrew, or currently enrolled, please select over here too. Put the address of the institution. Every single institution has an address. Okay? So check with your institution or check with your education provider where your course held, and please provide here. And of course the country. Alright? Moving to the next question. 22. So part H. Proposed travel or further stay details. If you are currently in Australia and you're applying for a visa in Australia, okay, you're going to simply select yes and move to question 26. If you're not in Australia, select no. So you're offshore, you're overseas, in your own country, or you're traveling and you're applying from overseas, okay? Select no, and then let's go for the next question. Why are you traveling to Australia? Include any relevant dates or events. So you are traveling to Australia to live and work. That's the main reason, because you're applying for a permanent residency and you're coming to stay forever, or at least for the period of your permanent residency. Okay? So just write it down. Do you have any proposed or booked travel dates for your journey to Australia? So if you have booked, if you have the dates, simply provide information. If you do not have the dates yet because you're applying for a visa, okay, but you haven't planned your travel your travel yet, please select no and move to the next question. If you select yes, you have to provide each one of these information requested. Okay? If you're selecting yes, put the date of your arrival in Australia, when you're planning to arrive. What does it say in your flight ticket? Your flight number, city where you're arriving. Give details of the country you will visit on your way to Australia. Or simply write NA if it's not applicable. List the towns, cities you will visit during your time in Australia. If you don't know yet, simply put the city you're going to. So let's say you're applying for a permanent residency in Perth, just write Perth. Simple, okay? Are you applying for a temporary visa? No, if you're applying for a 187 or if you're applying for a 186, if you're applying for your permanent residency, that is not a temporary visa. So simply select no and then let's go to the next part. Okay? If you're applying for a temporary visa, you are probably not receiving this document from us. So no, and then we're going to part 1. So going back here to question 22, if you are in Australia, we're going to question 26 and forget about this 23, 24, 25, okay? Move to 26, further stay. What is your main reason for remaining in Australia? So if you are in Australia, they want to know why you're staying. So that's quite obvious. So if you're staying in Australia, the main reason for that, as you're applying for a permanent residency, it's probably because your work, it's probably because of your family. So please write information here. So if you're filling this information because your partner is applying for a permanent residency and you are one of the dependents, you simply explain saying to stay with my family or to stay with my partner. If you are the main applicant, simply provide information as you are applying for a permanent residency because you want to work and live in Australia. So just provide information here. What is the main reason for you to remain in Australia? 27. List the towns and cities you will visit during your stay in Australia. So usually people replace this for the city they're applying for because they're applying for this visa, for example, to Perth, and because they're moving to Perth. So that's the city that they're visiting during their further stay in Australia, which is the length of their permanent residency. Okay? So simply put your the city that you're applying for, and that's it. Give details of your arrival in Australia. So this is the last time that you've arrived in Australia. Okay? So this is simply the last time. So let's say you just got back from a travel and once you arrived in Australia, the immigration stamped your visa. Okay? Simply put that date, day, month, and year, and the city where you arrived. Okay? If are you applying for a temporary visa? This one we've discussed previously here on the 25. So no, go to part 1. Yes, move forward. Do you have any proposed or booked travel from your departure from Australia? Okay, and then provide information. But again, if you're applying for a permanent residency that is not a temporary visa, simply go to part 1. Addresses in Australia. Are you currently in Australia? So if you're not in Australia, okay, simply select no and let's answer the next questions. If you are in Australia, just ignore the next questions and move to question 34, okay? But let's just briefly go through the questions if you are located outside Australia. Do you know any details of the places you will stay during your time in Australia? For example, hotels, friends, relatives, or if you have arranged accommodation for your stay in Australia. So if you're applying offshore and you're coming to work in Brisbane or in Perth or in Sunshine, whatever, doesn't matter where you're going to, If you've planned already, if you already have accommodation, please provide information. Okay? If you do not have any sort of information, no information at all, I don't know, when I'm going or where I'm going to stay, I haven't planned any of that yet, simply select no and go to part J. If you select yes, please provide each one of this information. Okay? The address, suburb, then town, city, state, postcode, and the phone numbers. Will you stay at any other address? So let's say that you're staying sometime in one address, sometime in the other address. Yes, and then you put in the information. Otherwise, no, and simply go to part J. Okay? If on question 31 you've answered yes, I am in Australia, you're moving to question 34. Located in Australia. Okay? Do you have any other addresses in Australia that have not been declared at question 18? Question 18 is the one that you've provided all your addresses information. Okay? So if you don't have any other address that you've provided already, simply hit no and go to part J. If you have an address that has not been specified on question 18, please select yes and give the residential address and contact numbers. Fill in all information. Okay? Going to part J, Australian visa history. Are you currently in Australia? So yes, give details of your current visa. Type of visa you hold. So you're on a student visa, or you are on the 457 visa, you are on the any visa, whatever the visa you are, please put the type of visa you hold. Okay? A reason for your journey. So if you have a student visa, the reason for your journey, it was to study. If you have a sponsorship visa 457, the reason for your journey was work. The name used on entry, so put the name that is on your visa. Okay? And the place of visa issue, so where this visa was issued. If you are in your own country and you arrived in Australia with this visa and you currently have this one, simply put the place where the visa was issued, so that is back in your own country. Or if that was issued in Australia, please just write Australia. Okay? Date of arrival. So arrival date, again, this is the last stamp that you have in your passport. That is your last arrival in Australia on this current visa. Okay? So if you're on a student visa and the reason was study, the name, it's your own name, place of issue, and you've last arrived last week, you're going to put the last week arrival date. Okay? So this is the date that you've arrived in Australia for the last time. So, are you currently in Australia? Yes. Have you been in Australia before? So, if you've traveled to Australia before, please provide information, give details of previous visas. If you've been in Australia for years and if you've had different visas, please provide your visas here as well. So, let's say that if you renewed your visa a couple times, so you're going to put the visa you've held, so it's, let's say, student visa, reason for your journey, study, your name, where this visa was issued, when this visa was first issued, and departure date, it's when it expired. Okay? And then you renewed for another school, so again, another study visa, a student visa to study, your name, where it was issued, when was granted, when it ended. Okay? If you don't have any other visa, you've never had a visa before, you've never been in Australia before, simply select no, and let's go to part K. Please have a read through each one of these questions, selecting yes or no. Okay? They're very straightforward questions. I'm not going to go through each one of them. Please answer correctly, honestly, yes or no. Okay, and then if you answer yes to any of the questions on this one, if you have answered yes, please provide information here as per this instruction. Otherwise, if you've selected no to all of them, simply move to the next question. 38, military services. So if you undertaken any military service? So if you've served military service, you're going to select a yes and give details in chronological order. If you have not served, you're simply gonna hit no, select no, and move forward. Okay, so if you're dismissed, you applied for but you did not take any military service, simply select no and then move to the next question. If you've served for any period of time, a week, a month, 10 years, please put yes and provide details. Okay, on part M, employed by intelligence or security agency, please provide information if yes, otherwise select no and go to the next one. Have you ever been refused a visa to any country, not just Australia, to any country? So let's say that you applied for a visa for XYZ country 5 years ago, or 10 years, or 20 years ago, doesn't matter, okay? Have you ever been refused? If you've ever had any visa refused, please put yes and give details of the refusal, countries and circumstances of refusal, which you probably received when your visa was refused. Otherwise, if you've never had that problem, simply select no and go to question 41. Part O, deportations. So if you've had this incident before, you were in a country and you were deported, please provide information. Anytime, no matter if that was a year ago or 20 years ago, okay? If that ever happened, please provide information. Otherwise, select no and move to the next question. On part P, citizenship refusals. So if you've applied for a citizenship in any country and you got refused, renounced, please provide information. Okay, so if you ever had a citizenship and that was renounced or that was refused, please provide information. If you've never had any sort of problems like this, simply hit no and let's go to question 43 on part Q. Associated people. Do you have a partner? What does a partner means? Partner is the one that is applying. You're applying for a visa and you have your spouse, you have your partner, you have your de facto, you have someone that is included as a partner in your visa. If you're applying by yourself, there is no one with you, simply select no. If you do have one, please provide information. So if the relationship to you is a de facto one, or it is if you're engaged, or if it is married, please provide the relationship to you. Family name, again, is the surname as per the person's passport. Given name is the first name as per your passport, okay? Any other name, for example, tribal name or maiden name, just please put here, okay? Sex, if it's male or female, date of birth, and Chinese commercial codes if that applies. Otherwise, simply type NA, not applicable. Place of birth, town, state, country, citizenship, and year granted. So citizenship, and let's say it was birth, just simply put the date of birth, the year of birth. Okay? Country of current residence. So you're going to put, if it's living in Australia, of course we're gonna write Australia. If it's in their own country, just please put the current residence country where they're living. Okay, Is migrating with you? Yes or no? Okay? So if you do have a partner, put yes. Are they migrating with you? Yes or no? Move to the next question. Do you have children? No, I don't have any children. Okay, simply select no and move to the next question. I do have children. Okay, so we're going to do the same as the partner information. So you're going to write son or daughter and family name, all information related to your children. Okay, you have up to 6 children here that you can fill up. If you have more than 6, fill up all the 6 here and then go to part T to provide additional information. Okay. Do you know details of your parents? Parents include biological parents, adopted parents, step parents, legal guardians, and deceased parents. Okay? So, if you do have details, if you do know the details of your parents, yes. If they're not living, okay, so write deceased. So if your father or if your mother, stepfather, etc., they are not alive, okay, if they have died, please write deceased in country of current residence column, okay? So country of current residence, if not living, write deceased. If, of course, they're living, if they are alive, just put the country where is their current residence. Okay, the same as the children, same as the partner. Please provide information in full. Do not leave any blank space. Okay, unless you don't have, for example, any other names, then you're gonna leave in blank. Otherwise, fill up every single one of them. So you have here 4 parents. If more than 4 parents, give details at part T, additional information. Okay, so this stands for the ones that have like mom and dad, stepmom, stepdad, for example. Okay, then you can write them over here. If you have more than that, just go to part T. 46. Do you have siblings? Siblings are your brothers, your sister, stepbrother, stepsister. Okay, full and half and adopted brothers and sisters. Okay? Oh, but they are my stepdad's sister. Yes, so he's your stepsister. Or she's, I'm sorry, he's your stepsister. Okay? Or he is your stepbrother. So please provide details in full. If you do not have any siblings, simply select no and move to the next question. Okay? You have up to 5 siblings space to fill up. If you have more than 5, simply give details at part T, additional information. Question 47. Other traveling family members. Are there any other family members included in this visa application? Family members includes nieces, nephews, cousins, in-laws, grandparents, any other family, okay, who are traveling with you. If you don't have anyone, simply select no. If someone is traveling, it's a family member traveling with you, simply select yes and do the same. Provide information in full. Okay? Question 48. A lot of people ask me about this question. Do I have any personal contacts in Australia? If you are living in Australia, it's most likely that you do have a contact. That could be your workmate, that could be your boss, that could be your neighbor, that could be your friend, your girlfriend, your teacher, someone. You probably have a contact in Australia. So let's say that you are applying for a permanent residency and you do not have any contacts because you're applying for a permanent residency without an employee or anything. Then you're going to select no. But it's most likely that you're going to select yes because you probably have an employer, you probably have a friend, you probably have someone in Australia that you can provide information. Please provide as much information about one of your personal contacts as possible. Okay. Family name again is the one as a surname as per the passport. Given name, first name. Sex, relationship to you. So if they're partner, sister, aunt, or whatever they are, friend, my boss, my manager. Okay. Just put over here their date of birth, town and city of birth, state, country, nationality. If they are Australians or if they are from a different country, just put their nationality, okay? Your personal contact's current residential address. Note, a post office box is not acceptable. What is a post office box? It's those PO box, okay? So if your contact gives you a PO box address, that is not acceptable, okay? You need to provide a residential address, okay? And then fill up the whole information here as well. 49. Do you have any other personal contact in Australia? So if you only have one contact in Australia, please fill up 48, and then 49 is selected no. If you have another one that you would like to provide, that you could provide, please do the same. Provide information here, selecting yes and giving details. Okay? On part R, sponsoring employer details. A lot of people have doubts about this question because they are asking about, do I put my employer contact details? Do I need to provide any sort of details? Okay, so if the form is asking you if you are being sponsored by or associated with a business or organization in Australia, you have to provide. So what does that mean? You're applying for a 187 visa, okay? So you are being sponsored by that company. That company is nominating a position. They are sponsoring you, so you have to provide this information. If you're not being sponsored, you're not associated with or anything, then of course you're gonna select no and move to part S. But if you are being, please provide each one of these information related to your company, okay? The company you're applying for. If you don't have this information, do not leave blank information. Please contact your employer and ask them about this question, okay? Same with the following questions. Question 51. Does the employer business have any other associated addresses? Oh, I don't know. Well, so you should contact your employer and ask them if they have any other associated addresses, okay? If they say no, simply select no and move to 52. If they say yes, please provide information. So what I do recommend, once you're going to ask or when you're going to ask your employer, please give this information to them. Ask them if they have any other associated addresses, what type of address, if it's the head office, factory, retail store, the address including building number and the street name, suburb and town, city, state and postcode. Okay. On question 50, the one before, if you do have the information about the headquarters, the main office of the business, please provide information here. Okay. In case you don't have where you're going to, you're not too sure yet, but you do have the information about the headquarters, please put over here. Okay. But I always suggest contacting your company, your employer, and asking them about the question 50, 51, 52, and 53. Okay? 52. Does the employer or business have an email address? Most likely they do. Please select yes and provide their email address. Do not be afraid of providing this information. Okay? If you do have the information, if they do have an email address, remember, put yes and provide information. Otherwise, select no and move to the next question. Does the employer business have telephone numbers? It is most likely that they do have a telephone number. Please provide a list of all contact telephone numbers, including area code. Okay, if they don't have a telephone number, select 53 and move to next question. Okay, 54 is the part S, declaration. Warning: giving false or misleading information is a serious offense. Okay, so please be honest. Provide all information requested. Do not provide false or misleading information. Okay, and then here you declare that the information you've supplied in or with this form is complete, correct, and up to date in every detail. Okay, so it has to be complete. Incomplete answers are not accepted. Okay, declare that you've read and understood the information supplied to you. You've read the information contained on the 1442I privacy notice. If you want to have access to that, just go into the immigration website and look for this information, this privacy notice. Okay, and understand that the department may collect, use, and disclose your personal information, including biometric information and other sensitive information, as outlined in the Form 1442I privacy notice. Okay, and then once you have this one done, on question 55, which is part T, additional information. This one is for you in case on question 18, for example, or 20, 21, where you do not have enough space. You simply put the question number, for example, here, and then you're going to type what is the info. Okay, so you're gonna type, for example, your address. So from date XYZ to XYZ, lived in this place, this address, and then so on. Okay, so use these pages to fill up additional information. I hope this video was helpful. I understand that it's a very long form and a lot of people find it confusing, but it's quite straightforward. There is no questions that you quite could not understand, but I hope that I've explained in details what all the information requested in this form is. If you do have questions about this form, we do suggest you to gather all questions in one question. So let's say you have questions about 32, 37, 40, 42. Get all of them together and forward a message to us through our website, and we will gladly help you. Okay? Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the video and this was helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.